If you like listening to tunes in your Defender, you do not want to miss this episode. We are fitting a serious sound system into our Project Defender. This is going to look fairly familiar to you if you've got a Defender. So what I've done is I've actually stripped out all the carpeting on our 110 County, and also the original deadening material from the bulkhead there that you'd have in yours. You might not have it. Now we are actually fitting some acoustic matting, and that's why we wanted to rip everything out, get the wires all in place first before we put our acoustic matting in. But we've just had a conversation about where everything's going to go. So as you saw, and if you didn't see it in a previous episode, we've fitted a centre console up here in the roof space, and that's where our head unit's going to be. You'll be quite surprised at the head unit we're fitting into this and the sound we're going to get out of it, but we'll come to that later. Now Matt has suggested that really the best place to locate the amp would be in this area here near the battery box. Unfortunately our vehicle is quite old. There's a lot of holes in there. There's a massive one there. We've got grommet holes here. It's not watertight, and we are going to be wading in this, so we are going to be going into some sort of dirty stuff. So we've decided we're not going to have it there. We're going to mount it a bit higher, and because we have the convenience look of this sliding cubby box tray, and actually Mud, who make this, do a bespoke amp box, which you will have seen me fit in a previous episode. Again, I'll put the link up above. But I like this because I can use it for all sorts, and it's just handy that we're going to be able to use it for the amp. So that's a perfect location for our amp. We've then got to consider what speakers are going to go where, and then we've also got a sub which is going to be located somewhere in the vehicle, so we're going to be doing that in a moment as well. It's worth mentioning that our doors just at the back here are rotten as you'd imagine, and they're not staying on the vehicle, so we have got new doors going on the vehicle. So as far as soundproofing doors, we would definitely be fitting Dynamat to the inside of these doors, and we will be putting a little bit in here, but we're not going to town because it's a waste of money because the doors are being replaced. However, the door cards are going to be soundproofed, and I'll show you when we do that how it's done and the products we use, and then you'll see how we actually mount the speakers. Okay, so we've got Matt here with us from Celsius, and he's going to be helping me today fit the audio equipment that we've got. So this is our box of goodies. Let's have a look inside. So we've got some, we're going to discuss all these later, but just needless to say, we've got some very nice speakers. Those are for the rear doors, these are for the front console. This is the amp. Wow, it's tiny. So really nice quality in terms of how it's been built. The owner of WAVTECH, my Morris, I've spent a bit of time with him, and he was originally an installer, so has made this product for people like you and me, in terms of making it easy to fit, something that's not going to have issues down the line like a lot of amplifiers do. The really big reason why I suggested going for this amplifier is how well it shields against external noises. So obviously Defenders can be a bit problematic when it comes to alternator noise and whine and buzz, which then gets fed through the amplifier. This is one of the only amplifiers on the market, in my opinion, that completely avoids all that. So got some nice cool features which helps with the fit, which is the removable inputs. That just makes life a little bit easier. Again, controls all on the top as well, which is a rarity for amplifiers. A lot of them are on the side. The benefit of using this WAVTECH 300.4 is it's very good in small confined areas in terms of how other amplifiers may overheat. Because it's a full heatsink, it's a really good bit of kit. So it's panel mount RCAs, so they're not going to come loose after you've been off-roading. It's just built to last. Okay, so we've got the remote, which all we need to do is find an ignition. We've got power cable and ground, which luckily the battery's there, so it's not too much of a stretch. Yeah, inline fuse, very simple. All we're doing now is extending the wiring down from where the original stereo sits up to the top. So dead simple, all we're doing is literally extending these standard ISOs to the relevant location, and then we can get cracking with wiring it all up. Okay, so we've got a lot of wires here. Now these are all our speaker wires. We're running the speaker wires down the left A-pillar, and they're going to be covered up by our extra deep mud stuff trim. They lead up to the top through the console into the center area where the head unit's going to be, and then power and feed is going to go on the right hand side A pillar. So this will all be covered up by the acoustic mat that's going in, but we're coming into the box, seat box here, then we're coming out over the top in the seat rail. We're going to put an aperture in the plate that goes on the seat box, and then it's coming around the back here into the back of our control or cubby box here, into the control unit or into the amplifier. Now, to get our speakers mounted into the front dash, we have to use a adapter because the speaker holes that were there originally are too big. And the easiest way to show you the concept of how to assemble those is to take this pod off, and I'll do it on the bench. Okay, so these are the elements we're going to be working with. So this is off the passenger side of the vehicle. So if you've got left-hand drive or right-hand drive, you will have a passenger side, and this is the pod that I've just removed. If I mount it onto the inside, we've still got a very small sort of receiving part on there, and I'm just not convinced that's going to be the best fixing for the actual speaker itself. I'd much rather do a nice job of mounting this plinth onto the speaker, and then an even nicer job of mounting that onto the outside. I just think I can make it look technical and industrial, so it doesn't look out of place if I use some really nice screws, and I think it's going to look better than if I have that showing. So that's what we're going to go for. Now, the other great thing about actually mounting these speaker plinths onto the outside is we don't have to remove the actual unit from the vehicle. We haven't got to sort of struggle to get the plinth behind the dash, but it's your choice. You've got both options open to you. I think if I hadn't had this kind of effect on the outside here, I'd be inclined to mount it on the inside, but it's just so ugly, I want to just cover it up. The speaker's construction has these sort of bridges here, and they just interfere ever so slightly with the ID of this plinth. So we're going to have to mark where these little ridges are and just file the plastic back a little bit so we can get a nice snug fit, because at the moment you see there's a little gap that's showing. I actually ended up filing a chamfer off the entire ID of that plinth, because not only have you got these bridges here on the unit, but you've also got little tabs and all sorts, so really you need to file the whole thing. Now, if you're mounting this on the inside, you don't have to do any of that filing. It'll just go straight in because there'll be a gap between them, a natural gap. But because I'm doing it from the outside, I want to make sure there's a nice, clean, flush fit, and I'm really pleased with that, so that should do the trick nicely. Now, I'm just going to use a 2mm drill bit because that will just give me a pilot to allow me to then put the screws in. Okay, so we're all mounted onto our plinth. You can just see here the screws underneath. Okay, we've got our second plinth filed down all around the edge that you can see there, so this drops in really nicely now. You can see there. And on this one, I'm going to actually mount this plinth to the dash first. So we're nice and clear of everything in there. Now all we have to do is get our speaker wired up, and we've got these little screws on here ready to go in. It's got a little foam gasket on the inside of the speaker, so if you can get it so you can just see that starting to compress, you know you've got a good purchase. We're going to use the packing template for the speakers to actually mark our position for the hole. So Sharpie pen activated. So there's our hole. Now let's do the other one. So if I just lay this over the top exactly, it should, there we go, should give you that hole position again. Now it comes with speed clips. So what we're going to do is just going to do a little pilot hole. Put my screws in first. So a nice flush fit. Then we've got in the back. Long screws don't need to be that long, but I don't think they're going to interfere with anything, but we will check obviously. They're not pushed out as much as this is. But yeah, Right, number 2. Okay, so making sure not to damage our newly mounted speaker, we're going to apply some Dynamat to our card. It's not going to be a precise science. I'm going to basically cut strips as I see fit to mount, and you could do a better job than this, I'm sure, but I don't think it's necessary. So we're literally just going to cut strips out and start applying them. So not only would you be putting this stuff in your door card, but you'd be putting it on your door as well. But we're not doing it onto our door at the moment because we're fitting new doors soon. So I'm not pushing too hard because I don't want to damage the speaker. But that is a good start.
These Morrel speakers are known as point source speakers. So you've got your tweeter in and then your woofer in. The reason why these are so good is a point source speaker versus a coaxial. A coaxial, the tweeter noise gets to you at a different time, so there's a slight delay. Point source, it hits you exactly at the same time. So with the Morrel Vertus Nanos, you're getting the quality at the same time, which is why you can see you've got a tweeter in and then a woofer in. So all we're doing is connecting the relevant part of the crossover to the relevant part of the woofer. We've used Dynamat to secure the crossover down. Ideally, you would screw this onto a door, etc. But being a Land Rover Defender, there's not massive amounts. The Dynamat is 100% butyl, so once this sets, this will not come off. I've also taken the clear plastic covers off just to give it a bit of airflow. These relatively are fine to install anywhere, but again, there's no point in it overheating. Perfect. I'm really surprised at how good they sound, especially in a Land Rover Defender. It's not the perfect aperture vehicle just because of its age. The reason why we actually installed this is to demonstrate almost how good the audio components are. A lot of people tend to think, oh wow, this system's fantastic, when it's actually the head unit. But what we're showing is that if you happen to have an old Defender with an old stereo system, you can still have this system in your car and have it sound better than a lot of new cars that come out of the factory. So it's a Kicker sub. Kicker are the kings of subwoofers, and it really shows here. So it's a HIDEAWAY, it's got a 10-inch driver, it's active, so it's really easy to fit. I just think they look really cool. I think they should have had some from the factory, but again, there's no space, which is why Morrel is just leaps above any competitors. And even though these are thin, these sound better than some competitors with the bigger speakers. That's how good they are. So with the WAVTECH amplifier, you've got a lot of calibration that you can do. I always say when you're tuning a vehicle, put the stereo up to full and then knock it back a couple, and then same with your phone, put it up to full and knock it back a couple. This is only once the speakers have had time to bed in. So don't do this straight away. As soon as you fit it, don't crank them full volume. A bit like an engine, you know, if you're putting a fresh engine in one of these, you don't want to be hammering it straight away.
Well guys, I have to say just how massively impressed I am with this system. The Morrel speakers are such a shallow fit. They look really good on the second row doors. Now if I'm honest, I thought this sound system was just too good, too loud for this Defender. I thought it's just going to shake it to bits. It's going to sound awful. There's so many components in here that are going to rattle about. But going to town with the Dynamat has really made a massive difference, and putting that acoustic mat system in the front as well has made a big difference. Now who am I to say what's important to you guys in your Defenders, but if you love your music, this is such a good upgrade because you haven't got to sort of invest a fortune in the head unit. You can just run a regular standard, if you want to, quite a retro stereo head unit in your vehicle, and then you're just relying on the amp and the sub and the speakers. The quality of the sound is phenomenal, and I just think that for someone who's not massively into music, it's really transformed my enjoyment of driving the Defender, because yes, I don't mind the noise of with my Defender, it doesn't bother me, but I've really been able to enjoy the sound of the music I love without putting headphones on. And that's just a really new experience for me in Defender. So thank you very much for watching. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Do subscribe, because we've got lots of videos coming out constantly every week. And for now, I shall leave you with some tunes and catch you on the next one.